kitchen was thick with tension, a stark contrast to the years when laughter had once echoed off the tiled walls. Now every sound felt sharp, like knives scraping against each other. My sister Vanessa faced me across the room, her face flushed, fists clenched, voice rising sharply above the usual noise. "I told you not to touch my things," she yelled, shoving a chair aside. "I didn't," I protested, clutching the glass of water I had come for, the only thing I'd touched. "I don't even go in your room. Please, just subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from." But she didn't stop. She stormed over, and before I could react, she shoved me against the fridge. Her elbow slammed into my ribs with a jarring force. I felt something crack. Pain exploded through my side. My knees buckled, and the glass slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor, echoing my shock. I gasped, clutching my side as pain crept up my spine like fire ants. "Mom!" I yelled. "She hurt me. Something's wrong. I can't." But from the living room came a slow, dismissive voice. "Oh, honey, not again." I turned toward the hallway, expecting concern, but Mom remained lounged on the couch, unbothered. She didn't ask what had happened, didn't even glance at my twisted face. Instead, she sighed and rolled her eyes as if I was an annoyance. "She didn't mean it," she muttered, brushing popcorn crumbs from her lap. "Don't be dramatic, and don't even think about calling the cops. That'll just ruin her chances of getting a job," she's still applying. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was 23, working part-time while trying to build a life outside this toxic house. Vanessa, at 25, was unemployed, angry, and somehow untouchable because she was the golden child. When I told Mom I thought my rib might be broken, she just laughed and said, "It's probably just bruised. Take a Tylenol and stop ruining the evening." That night, I lay on my bed, each breath shallow and painful. I clutched my phone, tempted to call for help, but knowing I had no health insurance, cut off at 18, and no savings, since every penny I earned was drained by Mom for groceries that mysteriously turned into Vanessa's eyelash extensions or weekend binges. The next morning, Vanessa was in the kitchen again, humming casually, with no apology or remorse. She smirked when she saw me wincing. "You always bruise like a peach," she joked, sipping from the orange juice I bought. I wanted to scream, to break something in retaliation, but I stayed silent. Instead, I started planning. I remembered all the ways Vanessa had belittled me, stolen friends, taken my birthday money, even lied about me to a college boyfriend just to keep him. But now, she had something to lose, her future. And I had proof. I limped into the bathroom, locked the door, and peeled back my shirt. The bruises were already darkening, yellow at the edges, red and purple in the center. I recorded everything, the bruises, the swelling, my shallow breaths. I even captured Mom's voice from the night before, her dismissive words. "Don't call the cops. It'll ruin her job hunt." I made backups, emailed the evidence to myself, knowing I didn't yet know what I'd do with it, but feeling that something inside had snapped as surely as my rib had. I was no longer going to protect them or stay silent while they used me as a punching bag, literally and emotionally. They'd spun a story for years. Vanessa, misunderstood and trying to find her way. Me, the burden, the overreactor, the drama queen. Not anymore. Not after what she'd done, and not after what I was about to do. 3 days passed without a word to Vanessa. I avoided the dinner table, ignored Mom's sarcastic jabs. Every attempt at their sneers only fueled the fire smoldering beneath my skin. I went to urgent care alone, walking with sharp, painful breaths. The doctor confirmed my suspicion, a fractured rib. He looked at me skeptically when I said I'd fallen, but I didn't care for his pity. I just needed the documentation. I paid with a borrowed credit card. Mine. Maxed out from years of family emergencies my mom kept calling me to help with. When I returned home, Vanessa was bragging about her upcoming interview at a well-known publishing house downtown. "They want someone fresh, authentic," she said, twirling her hair, pretending she hadn't just snapped my ribs in two. I watched her, waiting, knowing what I'd do next. That night, Vanessa left her laptop open on the dining table, revealing her resume and references. One name caught my eye, Miss Carmichael, her former professor, the same one Vanessa had publicly cursed out on Twitter 2 years ago for failing her final paper. I snapped a picture of the screen, took a deep breath, and did something I never thought I would. I called the company's HR department. I told them everything, who I was, what had happened, and sent them the photos, the voice recordings, the medical report. I ended with a blunt statement: this is the kind of person you're considering representing your brand. I didn't expect an immediate response, but I knew they understood. The next morning, Vanessa left the house dressed in a new blazer, wearing my grandmother's necklace, the one Mom claimed Vanessa should have, saying she'd wear it more. By noon, she returned, face pale and strained, confused, hurt, furious. She threw her purse across the room and screamed, "Someone sabotaged me." I stayed silent, just listening from the hallway, letting her realize that her carefully constructed world was crumbling. And I was finally free enough to rebuild my own. They told me they'd received an anonymous file accusing me of assault and fraud, accompanied by evidence. Mom's face paled, not out of concern, but horror that someone had dared to expose her secrets. "Who would do this to you, sweetheart?" she asked softly, rubbing her back. Vanessa's eyes flicked around the room before settling on me. "You," she hissed. I tilted my head, a small smile playing on my lips. Funny how the truth always finds its way back, huh? That night, chaos erupted. Vanessa hurled a plate across the room. Mom's scream pierced the air. I quickly locked my door and smirked, because I knew the dominoes were just beginning to fall. The next morning, Vanessa received an email that shattered her illusions. She was permanently blacklisted from their hiring list. The HR department had also contacted her alma mater, submitting a formal complaint about her falsified resume. I'd known she faked her internship hours, and now I had proof. Meanwhile, I started gathering every receipt, every bank transfer, every email where Mom had borrowed money, then never paid it back. I sent all of it to a legal aid nonprofit I found online. Turns out, family theft is still theft, and financial abuse is a serious matter. They offered to help me file charges. That week, I didn't speak a word to my parents. Not until I was ready. When the day came, I packed my bag, printed the medical report, and left a copy on the kitchen counter, along with the eviction notice. They didn't know I'd taken over the lease. Years ago, Grandpa had put the house in my name as a safety net. I was only 18 then. He never trusted Mom with anything except excuses. And now, the inheritance he left me, which Mom claimed had mysteriously vanished, was quietly sitting in a trust. I used it to buy the house out from under them. When they arrived home and saw the envelope with my name and the official letterhead, confusion flickered across their faces, then quickly turned to fury and fear. "You can't do this," Mom stammered, her voice trembling for the first time in years. "I just did," I replied calmly. "And I gave you 30 days. Vanessa tried to lunge at me again, but I didn't flinch. Because this time, I had everything I needed, and I wasn't afraid anymore. Those 30 days flew by. Vanessa spiraled further, applying for jobs, only to be met with rejection after rejection. Word spread in her industry. No one wanted a candidate linked to assault, false references, and parental cover-ups. Every email she opened was another rejection, another scream, another threat to sue me. But she didn't. Not really. Deep down, she knew it was all true. Mom and Dad tried guilt, silent treatment, gaslighting. "You're so dramatic," they'd say. "She didn't mean to hurt you. She just snapped. She's going through something." But not once did they say they were sorry. Instead, Dad muttered, "This house was never meant to be yours anyway." I smiled and responded, "Funny, according to the paperwork it is." Vanessa had nowhere to go. But instead of humility, she barged into my room a week before the move-out deadline, acting as if I owed her a fresh start. "You're ruining everything for me," she snapped. "You're so obsessed with being the victim, you forgot how to be a sister." I stood calmly. Being your sister has meant bruises, silence, pretending you're normal when you're not. I didn't forget how to be one. I just chose not to be abused anymore. She threw her coffee mug, shattering it inches from my face. I didn't flinch. Instead, I picked up my phone and pressed one word: police. She screamed again, but I only heard her panic. This wasn't just about the fight. This was years of being the afterthought, the scapegoat, blamed whenever something went wrong. The broken TV, unpaid bills, missing money, all of it. That was my story. And now, I was finally writing the ending. The police arrived. Vanessa locked herself in the bathroom, crying. Mom begged me to make it all disappear, she sobbed. This will ruin her future, she pleaded. But I knew better. They were given a final 48-hour extension to leave. When they finally left, they didn't even bother to say goodbye. Vanessa stormed out with 2 garbage bags full of clothes, Mom's screams echoing behind her. Dad didn't look at me. He stared at the floor, unable to face the daughter he'd ignored for so long. Once the house was silent, I stood in the hallway and listened to the quiet, the absence of slammed doors, sneers, Vanessa's false bravado, Mom's bias meddling. Just peace. A week later, I started renovations. Patched holes, removed old furniture, scrubbed away the memories. Then I did something bold. I transformed Vanessa's old room into an art studio, the one thing I'd been told would never pay the bills. And I finally responded to the university scholarship offer I'd deferred months ago. They wanted me back. Not with baggage, but with freedom. Months passed. My art flourished online. I freelanced for companies Vanessa had once begged to work with. My professors championed me. Slowly, my voice returned, then flooded back. One day, an anonymous message appeared on LinkedIn. Did you really ruin your sister's life just to get into school? I smiled and typed back. I rebuilt my own. She just got caught in the debris of what she destroyed. Then I logged off. The last I heard, Vanessa was living with a friend 2 cities over, bouncing from job to job. My parents had moved in with an aunt who wasn't blind to their manipulations. And every holiday, I spent time with people who genuinely cared, who loved without bruises. On my graduation day, for the second time, I didn't invite my family. But I did wear my grandmother's necklace, the one Mom claimed Vanessa should have. As I stepped onto the stage, I whispered, "This one's for every time I was told to stay quiet." The applause wasn't thunderous, and it didn't need to be. This time, I was the one holding the pen. And finally, the ending was mine.